Should AFL teams have a Guernsey exclusively for rivalry matchups? I think so, and here's why. So a few years back, GWS introduced their black Never Surrender Guernsey, which they wear only in games against Sydney. Prior to this, the Giants would wear their typical home jumper and the Swans would wear their classic red and white. This combination made for a not so pretty looking matchup from a clash perspective. The introduction of this black Guernsey not only gave GWS one of their best jumpers, but also completely eliminated any clash, and gave the Battle of the Bridge, if we're still calling it that, a completely unique look that carried across all their matchups, regardless of who was a home or away team. Another example of this would be in the Showdown, where Port Adelaide would sometimes wear their iconic SANFL prison bars jumper, as it represents the history of the rivalry between these two teams, and the us against them nature of Port Adelaide trying to enter the AFL, and the Adelaide Crows instead being chosen or created as the first South Australian team. So I really like the idea of these big rivalry matchups having their own unique Guernseys, as they are bigger than your average home and away game, and where possible, it would be great for these designs to represent the tradition and history of the rivalry. But this is where we also run into a bit of a problem, because sometimes tradition flies totally in the face of avoiding jumper clashes. The best example of this would have to be Collingwood versus Carlton. When these games are played and Collingwood are the away side, it works fine. Collingwood wear their white clash kit and Carlton wear the navy blue. But when Carlton are the away side, Collingwood wear their black home kit, and for the sake of tradition, Carlton refuse to wear their white clash kit and instead wear navy blue and white shorts, which creates one of the worst clashes we've seen in the AFL. So let's look through some of the biggest rivalry matchups in the AFL and see if we can come up with Guernsey combinations that both respect the tradition and history of the rivalry while also avoiding clash. We'll start off with the Showdown, where I think it makes sense to have Adelaide in their traditional home kit and Port in the prison bars with white shorts. While these are two dark Guernseys, I feel like Adelaide's hoop colours help avoid a clash, and the use of white shorts with the prison bars jumper makes that a mostly white kit. And if Port were to wear white shorts even in their home showdowns, this is a combination of Guernseys that could be worn in both showdowns throughout the season. Next we'll go to the Western Derby. For this one, I like the idea of Freo wearing their OG anchor home jumper. I feel this kit really represents the history of Freo, and specifically their history against West Coast, as this Guernsey represents those first 15 or so years where the Eagles bullied the Dockers, and it's that colour matchup of blue and gold versus purple, red and green that stands out as the Western Derby. And I think you could potentially be okay from a clash point of view with just the away team wearing white shorts. As great as the Eagles' yellow clash jumper is, they had pretty much moved on from this Guernsey by the time Freo joined the league, and so it doesn't really represent the Derby. Up next is the Q Clash, and this one is a bit challenging as Brisbane and Gold Coast have very similar colour palettes. So I've come up with a bit of a creative solution. I've created a new jumper for Brisbane to wear in the Q Clash. This one is based on the original Brisbane Bears away jumper. Not only is this a much darker jumper than the Lions' other kits, and therefore avoids a clash of any sort with the Gold Coast red, but I also think it makes sense for Brisbane to wear a Bears style kit for the Q Clash, as this represents their history as the first Queensland team. Obviously at the moment Brisbane wear their yellow Bears inspired clash jumper, which I think is a great looking jumper, but the red of Gold Coast and the yellow of that Brisbane jumper does sort of clash a little bit, especially in the bright sunlight in the afternoon games. This new jumper also means that Gold Coast don't have to wear that blue clash jumper in the Q Clash, which, let's be honest, the less we see of that jumper, the better. To be honest, I don't really like Gold Coast red jumper either, but that's a topic for a whole other video. Now we get to the difficult one, which is Collingwood versus Carlton. If it were totally up to me, I'd make Carlton wear a sky blue clash jumper in away games, but I get that they probably wouldn't want that. So the other option is for Collingwood to go back to their traditional home kit, which sees them in a white jumper with black shorts, while the Blues can wear their navy blue kit. Now there is a chance that this could still be a bit clashy, but I feel like a mostly white jumper from Collingwood, even with black shorts, should be enough to create a difference. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.